all 6 concessionaires earmarked for the ECG concession arrangement present as the first bidders conference which is underway in Accra. They are to deliberate on government's proposal to maintain 51% stake in the ECG under the arrangement. Energy Minister Boakye Jako is expected to make a statement, and he's actually making the statement now. We'll take you live to the Swiss Spirit Alisa Hotel in Accra.
President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo set a vision for the energy sector to develop a modern, diversified, efficient, and financially sustainable energy economy. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been past efforts since 1997 to address the challenges confronting our power sector. Some successes have been achieved, but a lot more remains to be done for us to get to the point where we can truly describe the sector as the engine of our forward march to an improved and resilient economy. Years of inadequate investments, inefficiencies within the utility, and a large stock of outstanding receivables, particularly in the distribution sector, have all conspired to weaken the organizations in the sector. As a nation, we should set our sights firmly on turning around the fortunes of these strategic assets, which so many of us have poured our sweat into building. Ladies and gentlemen, the power crisis in recent times that plagued this country has taught us several unpleasant lessons. The power crisis, besides being a constraint on business activities, has diminished economic growth in the past few years. The 2013 World Bank Energizing Economic Growth in Ghana reports estimated that the 2006-2007 power crisis cost Ghana nearly 1% in lost GDP over those years. The Institute of Social, Statistical, and Economic Research, ISSE, in its 2014 study on the economy indicates that, on average, the country lost production worth about $2.1 million per day during the crisis period. It is therefore not surprising that the Association of Ghana Industries, the Private Enterprise Federation, and other business associations have met with government or publicly complained about how unreliable power has negatively impacted their businesses. For government, even more critical is the resulting loss of jobs that was precipitated by unreliable power to businesses. Recognizing this fact, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, during the 2017 State of the Nation address, warned that if left unaddressed, the challenges in the energy sector will collapse the Ghanaian economy. As you are aware, Ghana has obtained funding from the Millennium Challenge Corporation, a bilateral United States foreign aid agency, for the Ghana Power Compact, which includes the ECG financial and operational turnaround project. The MCC is committing close to $500 million for improvements in the power sector directly and indirectly to catalyze critical private sector participation and investments in the distribution sector. The requirements of the private sector to manage, operate, and above all, carry out strategic infrastructure investments in ECG remains the key objective of the PSP program. I wish to re-emphasize the fact that the government is not privatizing ECG. The government of Ghana will maintain ownership of ECG assets whilst they are leased to the private sector to manage and operate. We require, nay, we insist that the private sector partners make investments in excess of $500 million during the first 5 years of the start of the lease agreements. Indeed, in line with the government's desire to grow the economy through the empowerment of the Ghana private sector, we have requested changes in the private sector participation arrangements to allow for significant Ghanaian private sector participation. In that regard, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, during his May Day speech 3 weeks ago, communicated government's position on the structure of the ECG PSP transaction. These include 1. 51% Ghanaian ownership in the company that is granted approval to proceed with the ECG PSP transaction. 2. No involuntary layoffs of ECG staff during the term of the PSP arrangement. And 3. A 20-year term instead of 25 years. We are seeking the best qualified and willing private sector partner with the adequate financial capacity and the right experience to partner with ECG to help revitalize the power sector as a whole and ECG in particular. Let me state once again the government's commitment to the ECG PSP program. We want to proceed in a real spirit of partnership, and this partnership is not just with government and with MiDA. It is, most importantly, with all the employees of ECG and with the good people of Ghana. Finally, let me say that government acknowledges and commends all the stakeholders who have played key roles in the process: Trade Union Congress, civil society organizations, including COSECA, the World Bank Group, the IFC, our local and international financial institutions, our think tanks, and all other bodies who have assisted the process in various ways. You are appreciated, and we will continue to count on you. For the bidders, we welcome you all and look forward to constructive deliberations during the first round of bidders conference. At this juncture, I wish to declare this bidders conference duly launched. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boakye Ejiakor. I'm actually holding myself from calling you Honorable Collins Ejiakor.
Find a new name.
Thank you, Honorable. So, the process to select a qualified concessionaire for the ECG began in September 2015. And now it started with a call for a request for expression of interest in the transaction. Last April, we held a roadshow at the same auditorium. A number of activities have gone on since that period. We've had to stop, but we're starting. I believe many of you would want to know what the status of the transaction is and what the activities have been so far. To do this for us, we kindly ask the Chief Executive Officer of the Millennium Development Authority, Engineer Ora Kweku Safo, to kindly come and give us an update on what has happened and the way forward for this transaction. Engineer.
Madam Chair and members of the MiDA board, Honorable Minister of Energy, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Deputy Minister of Energy, Deputy Minister of Business Development, Acting Managing Director of ECG, Management of MiDA, distinguished bidders and distinguished investors, invited guests, our media friends, both electronic and print media, ladies and gentlemen. I think you have already been welcomed, but let me also extend my profound gratitude and warm welcome to everyone present for responding to our invitation to join us at this morning's event. Madam Chair, my duty this morning is very simple, is to give you an update of the status of the Electricity Company of Ghana private sector participation and where things stand as they currently are. As we are well aware, and as has been said, the Ghana Power Compact is a treaty between the people of the Republic of Ghana and the people of the United States of America, where the latter has granted a grant of $498.2 million towards a basket of interventions which are aimed at ensuring economic growth and poverty reduction. The 6 projects which have been implemented under Compact are on the basis of the constraint analysis that was done on the Ghanaian economy and the problem tree analysis that sought to identify the causes of unavailability and unreliability of power. One of the key activities, as has been said, is the ECG private sector participation activity. 2 PSP options, as discussions unfolded, were granted the government of Ghana. These options were partial privatization and a long-term concession. And the government of Ghana elected and selected a concession option as the option to pursue. You may be aware that the Electricity Company of Ghana is indeed one of the largest distribution companies in sub-Saharan Africa. It has over 3 million registered customers. It distributes and sells over 6,000 gigawatt hours of electricity. Now, whilst ECG service area covers only 36% of Ghana's territory in terms of land mass, customers are over 18 million. I'm talking about the population served. And 57% of these customers live in urban areas. There's no doubt, therefore, that the ECG concession is a very, very interesting one. And we are delighted at the level of interest shown by various companies, both local and foreign. Madam Chair, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat that it is anticipated that as a result of this transaction, private investors will bring in private financing to fund key investments and reduce losses and improve system performance, amongst other objectives. Since the government selected the long-term concession as its preferred private sector participation option in the first quarter of 2015, a lot of progress has been made and a lot of work has been done. Activities completed to date include, of course, the selection of a transaction advisor. It includes the submission of an inception report, a mobilization plan by the transaction advisor, and extensive review of these reports and plans by various stakeholders. It includes the submission of a due diligence report by the transaction advisor on ECG and review by stakeholders. It also includes the submission of a transaction structure report by the transaction advisor and again review by stakeholders. It includes cabinet approval of the transaction structure, the issuing of requests for qualification documents, approval of short lists of qualified applicants, and the issuing of requests for proposals, which was done on August 29th, 2016. A lot has been done, but a lot still remains to be done. Very shortly, you will be receiving a presentation regarding the elements of the RFP. There have been a number of comments already on the RFP, and I believe there would be a number of comments, and we may have to do some revisions, but these revisions have to be in line with what we define as an acceptable private sector participation transaction. In the Power Compact, an acceptable private sector participation is defined as one that leverages private capital to address the operational and commercial competencies, one that includes a strategic partner meeting the requirements of an acceptable ECG PSP provider, one that results from an open, competitive, and transparent process, one that encourages local participation at both the ownership and operational levels. An acceptable PSP is one that is sensitive to local customs and conditions, one that ensures the equitable treatment of ECG staff, and one that applies corporate-wide approaches with respect to operations, management, and governance of ECG. Again, the Ghana Compact defines who an acceptable private sector participation provider should be, and these are the elements that went into the pre-qualification documents. It defines that as somebody who has a relevant technical experience and a proven track record of helping electricity distribution companies of similar size and scope as ECG to become profitable. An acceptable provider should be one who has relevant experience in developing countries like Ghana, one that has adequate financial threshold and tangible net worth requirement, and one that is selected through a competitive bidding process based on parameters which have been designed to maximize value for government. These are the things that have guided the process to date, and these are the requirements that will guide the process going forward. I'm happy to say that the level of interest in the ECG private sector participation has been very high. Indeed, 87 entities requested for and received applications for pre-qualification. Out of this number, 11 entities submitted their applications for pre-qualification, and 6 entities met the requirements and were shortlisted to receive the request for proposals. As already alluded to, the criteria for qualification included minimum net worth of entities, operational experience in the power distribution business, developing country experience, and experience of investment in the distribution section. Madam Chair, as part of this activity, we'll be having one-to-one meetings with the bidders. There will also be site visits to the data room and to some important installations. Now that the ECG PSP process has resumed, there are a number of outstanding activities that remain to be completed before we can come to the end of this transaction. We will have additional bidders conferences, not of this nature, but additional bidders conferences. We will have due diligence by the bidders of ECG's assets. We will also, based on comments received, as indicated, issue a revised request for proposals document. Tenderers will go through the bidding process and we will be receiving their submissions. There will be evaluation of proposals received and approval of the evaluation report. There will be negotiations with a selected concessionaire. There will be a cabinet review of the approvals received and the selection, and there will also be approval by Parliament. There will be execution of the concession agreement, and we will have financial close of the concession transaction before we have the concessionaire taking over the management of the operation of an investment in ECG. A lot still remains to be done. The first bidders conference was originally scheduled for October 2016. We have lost over seven months, but now that the process has resumed, it is expected that bids will be received by October 2017, and a concession agreement signed with a selected concessionaire by May 2018. That way, the ECG PSP transaction can reach financial close by early September 2018, so that the concessionaire can commence in earnest the management of operation of an investment in ECG by November 2018. Again, you will agree, if you are familiar with this process, that this timeline is ambitious, and we will rely on the cooperation of all stakeholders to achieve this timeline. Before I take my seat, let me take this opportunity to express the Millennium Development Authority as an accountable entity for the Power Compact, our gratitude to government for its support and direction. We are also grateful to the MiDA board, we are grateful to the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Finance, and indeed all the MDAs. We are grateful to the management and staff of ECG. We are grateful to MCC, who are the providers of the funding, to our regulators and all stakeholders who have contributed to the effort to move this transaction forward. We want to thank you all very much. Finally, let me assure the people of Ghana that we will continue to work so as to have a private sector participation that is commercially acceptable and that works for Ghana. We urge all Ghanaians to seize this opportunity to improve the power sector. Indeed, it has been said that there is a direct relationship between useful consumption of power and economic development in every country. We at MiDA remain committed to implementing the compact and the ECG private sector participation in an open, transparent, and competitive manner, and in line with objectives set out in the compact. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Rakweku Safo. Okay, so I'm the MC, but I'm not the one who is chairing this program. I've just been told that if you look on your program, you'd realize that we're scheduled to have the Honorable Finance Minister speak at this moment. He's not here. So we're just making a slight change to the program. We'll now have...
So that's some live feed coming to you from the Swiss Spirit Lisa Hotel. It is the MiDA Bidders Conference. Engineer Rasafo, who is the head of MiDA Ghana, just spoke at that particular event. And what he said is that the original date for this conference was October 2016. But in all of this and all the events happening with this particular issue, they hope to sign with the selected concessionaire by May 2018. We'll be bringing you other news items from this particular program.